Hey guys, it is Monday, which means I am back with another Monday market update for the urban Toronto real estate market. So guys, things have completely hit a norm here and the stats week over week aren't much different. So I'm going to do something a bit different today. I'm just going to quickly go over the stats and then we're going to dig a bit deeper on a few things. So let's look at the single family home market in urban Toronto first. So we saw 28 sales this week, up one over last, which saw 27. The average sale price was down. That's partially we didn't see the same number of high ticket prices or high ticket sale prices. We only saw two sales over $2 million. So we saw an average sale price of $1.412 million. The sale to list price ratio was up to 108%, but without context and knowing was something listed correctly relative to market, that doesn't really mean much, but it does show a bit in terms of buyer confidence that people are willing to bid stuff up comparatively to where it was from. Once again, on the downside, we didn't see much standard deviation from list price. So, the biggest discount we saw from list price this week was 94%. On the upside, we saw something at 134%. But once again, without context, that doesn't really mean much. We did see 19 of the 28 sales go at or above the asking price, which once again, without context, you have to take with a grain of salt, but it does show that there is consumer confidence out there that they're willing to pay the asking price or more. Now, in the condo market, we did see an uptick in the number of transactions. We saw 42 transactions in the condo market. The average sale price was down. Once again, average means nothing. It is just an average of what is sold. So without context, it doesn't mean a whole lot. And it was down to 765,000. But the 2 weeks prior, we saw a big sale in the condo market of almost $4 million. This week, we only saw one sale over $2 million, and it was just slightly over $2 million, but we did see 6 over $1 million, okay? There was a little more variance in sale to list price, as we saw something as low as 89% of list, so it sold for 89% of the list price, and on the high end, 144% of list, okay? On average, the average sale to list price ratio was 100%. So on average, you were paying the asking price that you saw on the sticker, okay? So now I really just wanted to dig a little deeper today to talk about what's actually going on in the condo market in urban Toronto, because, there's a lot in the press out there. There's a lot out there that's, a lot of chatter that the Toronto condo market's really taking, a beating. There was things in the press that prices were down 9.1%. I'm getting calls from people saying, can I get this type of discount if a place was $1 million, pre-COVID? Can I now get it for 900 grand? And the answer is not likely. And so I wanted to dig deeper and show you guys some stats of where we're actually at today using some real live units that have recently sold. So I picked 5 units at random, okay? However, I did try to pick them in newer buildings just because you have to add less variables with new buildings. If we start picking older buildings, we have to look at, for comparables, we have to look at, was it renovated, so on and so forth. When were the updates done? What were the quality of the renovations? And it just makes it much more difficult to comp, and we'd be here for hours with me going through context. So instead I picked newer buildings, but they were just at random. I just pulled 5 that I'm going to share with you. So we can look at, are things actually down as much as the press is saying? And you guys can understand what type of discount you can expect out there in the Toronto condo market in urban Toronto comparatively to pre-COVID, okay? And also I want you to know where things are at to last year. So, the big thing and the easiest way to do this that's still a better measure than average sale price, but still needs context, is average price per square foot. Because that is actually adding another metric to average sale price and basing it on the size of a unit. However, it doesn't take into context, once again, how old is the unit that's selling? Is it been updated? What are views like? None of that's taken into context, which makes it, hard to say apples for apples. But if you look at that at the peak in February for a 2-week period, the peak number for downtown Toronto condo sales was $1,117 per square foot. Okay. For the last 2-week period, it was $1,043 per square foot. So we have seen a drop on average price per square foot of about 6.6%. So that's saying the market is down, but not as much as that 9.1% or 10% that you're hearing on the news or reading in the paper. Now, I wanted to dig deeper and compare some units apples to apples to see if some of those variables that average price per square foot cannot take into context on a large scale, if the numbers would be even different. So I'm going to share a few with you guys on my screen here, and we're going to walk through them one by one and, go through each one. And I'm going to walk you through. And so the first one I'm going to start with is in the Canary District at 120 Bayview. So it was listed at $789,000 and sold for $775,000. So it actually sold at a 4% discount to the list price. Okay. And this was the first one it actually sold under asking. However, when you look at things, it's still sold at over $1,000 per square foot at $1,007 per square foot versus the building average for the last year of $1,019. So it is down slightly. However, if I look at the last comparable sold, so the last 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, that was almost the exact same size. It was slightly smaller, but that unit had sold for, I think it was 761 square feet. That unit sold for $725K in March, or $952 a square foot. But that was during COVID. The reason I pulled this one is it shows that there may be some confidence coming back as we're getting back closer to that average price per square foot. And if you look at pre-COVID, which we had to go back to last year, prices are still up on this unit. So, you're not seeing that much of a drop. You're kind of in line with the average for last year. And, in terms of like the heart of COVID, the first 2 weeks when people didn't want to leave their house, we're seeing an uptick back in the market. But I know you guys want to compare to pre-COVID. So I'm going to grab a couple other for you guys. I've got 5 in here total. So I'm going to grab, and the reason I picked this one, I was just picking at random and looking at newer buildings. This was just the first one on the list. I'll be honest, I picked the first 2 sales that were on the list. So this unit actually was listed at $399. It was listed well below market value, and they held out for offers and they did very well. This was the top sale to list price ratio of the week, selling, at 144% of the asking price, or $575,000. So if you look at the building average per square foot, it's $1,295. This unit sold for $1,389 a foot, or almost $100 per square foot more than the building average for the last year. However, if we look, this was a great building because there was a perfect comp March 3rd, which is like the peak of the market right pre-COVID, that sold for $595,000. So it actually sold for 3.4% more than this sale. So this sale did really well, but it shows that there has been a decrease here in the market in this area for this building of about 3.4%. But that's still less than the 6.6% on the average price per square foot via condos.ca, and far less than the 9.1% that, or 10% that you were even hearing in the news. Okay, so the next one I want to share with you guys is another 1-bedroom. So I shared a 2-bedroom and a very small 1-bedroom. So I'm going to share a slightly larger one bedroom. It was about 540 square feet at 21 Widmer. So this one again was listed well below market at $499,900 or $499,000 and sold 125% of ask for $622,000. And this property actually had 10 offers. So there people wanted this and there's buyers out there, obviously. So it sold at $1,151 per square foot versus the building average of $1,095. So, you know, it sold for about 5% over the building average. And the really interesting thing about that is this is only on the 8th floor. So the last comp was actually sold in January. That's the last pre-COVID one bedroom to go. And it was unit 2007, which sold for $698,000. You might be saying, well, that's, you know, $76,000 more than this one. Well, there's two key points here. The first one is that it had a parking space, okay? And the second one was it's 45 square feet bigger. However, if we just pull out the parking space at $50,000 and go on a price per square foot basis, that unit sold at $1,107 per square foot. So we're still, you know, 4% above that sale in January. To go back and look at the apple to apple comp, there were two sales in June of 2019 that both sold for $615,000, but they were both on higher floors. And, you know, in a building like this, you're going to pay about $1,500 per floor in terms of a premium. So we're actually year over year seeing growth still right now, right in the middle of this, but it's not as high as it was. Okay. All right, so the next one that I want to share with you guys is another more expensive, high-priced unit. And it was a 1+ den, but it is a larger 1+ den at a higher price point, and that is unit 1014 at 438 King. So it was listed at $829,900 and it sold for $819,900, so 99% of ask. Okay. It sold in 10 days, so it didn't sell immediately, but still sold relatively quickly in 10 days. And it sold for $1,113 per square foot versus the building average of $1,092 per square foot. So once again, slightly over that building average for the year. The last comp was actually the exact same unit in December, which sold for $740,000. So $952 per square foot. So if you just go back from today till December, we are seeing a big jump here. You have almost an $80,000 jump. And, you know, on a per square foot basis, $161 per square foot jump. So, you know, over 10% since December, even though it's COVID. Now, if we look at pre-COVID, so March 6th, which was again the peak, unit 1108 sold, which was also a 1+ den, almost the identical size, but had one less bathroom, sold for $840K or $1,162 per square foot, which 1% would give us from the peak of COVID a 4% decrease. Okay. So, you know, the feeling that we're seeing out there is comparatively to last year, we're actually seeing prices still being up from last year and even the very start of this year. And if you're comparing apples to apples of what's selling, you're not seeing a drop of that 9 or 10% from the peak of pre-COVID in February or early March. You're actually seeing it be somewhere between 3 and 4%. So I've got one last one for you guys that I wanted to share with you, that, you know, I wanted to go something on the luxury, on the high end for you guys, to see something totally different. So this was a sale at 629 King Street West, and it was a penthouse unit. List was 1.858 million, and it sold for 1.769 million. Okay, so this unit sold for 1201 per square foot versus the building average of 1117 per foot. Okay, now of course a penthouse should sell for more than the building average, so this makes total sense. And to be honest with you, I looked for comps, and there was actually a February penthouse, or a penthouse sold in February as a comp. But it actually sold, it was a large one bedroom, which often sell cheaper just because they're not as practical and there aren't as many buyers for them in the market. So it actually sold at like $1,000 a square foot. And I didn't want to lead you guys in the wrong direction because it's really not a good comp, even though if you're not in the know, it may seem like a comparable unit because it was comparable size wise, and it was also a penthouse, but large one bedrooms just aren't great comps to a true two bedroom, just because there's not the buyer pool out there. However, pre-COVID, right at the peak again, there was a sale on March 7th of another large unit. It was only on the second floor, but the reason I'm comparing it to a penthouse is because it had a 620 square foot terrace. All right. And it was also a slightly smaller unit. It was 1,176 square foot unit. And things at the large size, they do sell at a higher price per square foot when they're smaller. Okay. As the price per square, or as the size goes up, price per square foot tends to come down. So pre-COVID, this unit sold for $1,248 per square foot versus this penthouse today at $1,201 per foot. So, you know, you're seeing a very small dip in terms of prices here. This one being, you know, less than 2%. Okay. So I just wanted to share those with you guys. So, you know, be careful of what you're reading in the news and how you're taking that in. And, you know, make sure that you're putting things into context and comparing apple to apple, because average price per square foot and, you know, even worse, average prices, which you see in the press, don't take anything into context and aren't comparing apple to apples of what's selling. So from the research I've done here, I can tell you, you know, there is a discount out there in terms of the market has dropped, but I would say it's somewhere in that 3 to 4% range at this point. And, you know, it does seem like buyer confidence is coming back a bit. Things are, you know, left to be seen with what happens over the next few weeks with COVID here. If it gets under control and the economy's open back up, things could go one way. If we can't get it under control, things could swing another way. So you need to keep your thumb on the pulse of what's going on out there. Anyways, I'll produce more videos like this for you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Cheers and have a great day. Stay safe.